Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Radhanat Radha Radhanat Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe. Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari Nitai Gaura Hari Gaura Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmenitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Jetam Suruto Pango Mama Madir Matir Gati Mant Sarvasya Padam Bhujo Radha Madan Mohano. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to today's morning program. And today we are going to be reading from this book called Transcendental Diary, Volume 2. It's by His Grace Harishori Das. And we are on chapter 4 at the moment. But because I'm not sure how the other readers have presented it, I'd like to just read you the preface so that we understand, where the pastimes are coming from. Now, this book is a journal by His Grace Harishori Das, who was the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada for about 2 years. And I'll begin the preface. This volume, the Transcendental Diary that His Grace Harishori Das has written, is actually in 4 volumes. He wrote the first one, and then there were more that he wanted to add, so he wrote a second, and then a third, and a fourth. So there's actually 4 volumes. So we are reading the second volume. So the preface: this volume of a Transcendental Diary traces the pastimes of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada during the first half of his last world tour. I had originally planned to present the entire tour in 1 volume, from Srila Prabhupada's arrival in Melbourne in April 19th, 1976, to his departure from Tehran on August the 13th, 1976. But the amount of material available was so great, it became clear to me that to make a presentation of this with the same kind of detail found in Volume 1, I would have had to split the material in 2 parts. The reason for this is to fathom the number of recorded conversations and lectures for 1976 surpasses any other year of Srila Prabhupada's preaching. Prabhupada's servants acquired a cassette recorder in early June, making it quick and convenient to record His Divine Grace's spoken words. And we are increasingly attentive to the task. Still, the material presented here represents only a fraction of the total. It is not possible to present everything in a book of this nature, nor is it necessary. So in this volume, we glimpse the international scale of Srila Prabhupada's traveling and preaching as he visits Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, Hawaii, mainland America, and Canada. In many ways, he was concerned with consolidating the gains of the explosive expansion of ISKCON in the early 70s. He purposefully chose to visit major new acquisitions of property in Detroit and Toronto, and Washington, D.C. and New York, as we will see in Volume 3. Yet at the same time, he continued to relentlessly push himself and his disciples to increase the influence of Krishna consciousness movement on broader and broader scales. While traveling, he remained intimately involved through the mail with detail of the development of his society in India. And he advised and encouraged his disciples to penetrate the Iron Curtain of communist Eastern Europe and China. So for me personally, as Srila Prabhupada's servant, this is Sri Harishori Das. As Srila Prabhupada's servant of 5 months, the time continued to be exciting and eventful, with His Divine Grace very much at the epicenter of events. By this presentation, I hope the readers of this diary will also feel the potency and power of his person and preaching. If only one person feels an increase in appreciation of his divine characteristics and a deepening of his or her relationship with Srila Prabhupada, then I can consider this humble effort a success. So that is the preface to this journal. So we now moving on to chapter 4 of this diary, and here Srila Prabhupada is in Honolulu. This is May 19th, 1976. Morning walks continue to be lively, instructive, and fulfilling. Hayagriva Prabhu's presence elicits comments and prompts from Srila Prabhupada on Christian doctrine and other philosophical topics related to their daily 2-hour discussions. Prabhupada never tires of preaching and teaching. It is a 24-hour occupation. Actually, not an occupation. It is his whole life. Prabhupada's classes are gradually creeping nearer to his normal half-hour standard. Yesterday was 23 minutes, today 25. Of course, the length does not correspond to the potency. A short class is every bit as powerful as a long one. Even if Srila Prabhupada simply sits on the Vyasasana, we'd all be fully satiated. Whatever he does speak simply increases our satisfaction more and more. Even as his secretary mailed his request to the GBC, more news of the wrong kind came today from New Zealand. It was a newspaper report about 2 Hare Krishna followers who had been killed in a blast while fashioning a bomb designed to destroy a meat factory. The article termed the devotees fringe followers described as chanters. They were obviously Tusta Krishna's men, and when Prabhupada saw the article, he was critical. "This is the problem," he said disgustedly. "They exchange externally, but the mentality is the same. Instead of causing a disturbance in the name of something else, they now do it in Krishna's name. You can give a dog a king's throne, but he'll still lick your feet. How foolish they are. By blowing up the meat factory, the meat works, will that change the meat eater's mentality?" So we see Prabhupada was very disgusted with the devotees' behavior. No, in terms of Krishna consciousness, the most important aspect is we need to change our consciousness, not destroy the entire material world, but rather make the material world a Krishna conscious place by changing the mindset of the people. Right. Despite Srila Prabhupada's request to be relieved of management, there are some things he cannot just forget about, especially his India projects. Because he hasn't heard from Mayapur, he sent a letter to Jayapataka Swami requesting an update on the land acquisition there. He also obliged Upendra in Fiji with the answer to a technical question about their temple design. Upendra suggested moving the domes from the back of the building where the deities will be housed to the front in order to appear more impressive from the road. And Prabhupada disagreed. The domes must be over the 3 deities. The domes should not be brought to the front of the temple. This place is over the deities, wherever they are visible to passerby, whether they are visible to passerbys or not. So Prabhupada was very adamant in the design of the temple, but more so, he was very adamant because of being respectful to the deities. Now, in Vedic culture, there's a term called Maryada Vartamani, where you don't step over a senior devotee. And here, Srila Prabhupada is actually showing us that we should be respectful to senior devotees and also the deities at all time. And there's a pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya he displayed this. What happened was Lord Chaitanya was, once he would take his prasad and he was served by his servant Govindaji. And this, once Lord Chaitanya was very tired, so he came and he lay down, not in his room, but actually at the doorway. So Govindaji used to massage Lord Chaitanya while he was resting. And here, now Lord Chaitanya was lying right on the doorway, so he couldn't pass, he couldn't get through. And then now Govinda was in a dilemma. So what to do? He wouldn't cross over the Supreme Lord because now this is now against the principles of Maryada Vartamani. And so what to do? He placed a sheet over the Lord and just moved at the side so that he could get past. And then in that way he could perform his service. And he performed his service, he massaged the Lord. The Lord was asleep for probably half an hour to an hour. And thereafter, when the Lord awoke, he knows that as soon as Govinda performs his service, he then goes to take prasad. But now, Govinda was still there in the room. So he asked him, Govinda, why haven't you taken prasad? And so Govinda said that, my Lord, I couldn't cross over you. So then the Lord asked him, Lord Chaitanya asked him that, how did you come in? You came in, then why don't you go out the same way as you came in? And he said, no, I came in to perform service. But taking prasad is for my gratification. And I won't cross over you to do that, to perform my gratification. I'll only do it when I am engaged in service. So in this way, this pastime is teaching us to be respectful. And here Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that. So going further, during Prabhupada's massage, which he took out on the sun deck, Prabhupada recounted to me some of the names which was given in his childhood. One relative called him Govardhana, which means shortened for Govar. You know what that meaning is, he asked? And then he answered with a laugh. What's Govar? Cow dung. Another name was Moti, which means pearl. And yet another, the name for a male cat. He was also called Kachori Mukha, Kachori face, because he loved to eat kachoris. Now, if you read Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, you'll see that Prabhupada never tired of kachoris, and he always had kachoris in his pockets. So he had that nickname of Kachori Mukha. In the late afternoon, after his nap, Prabhupada discussed the philosophy of home and kanta with Hayagriva. Now, Home is David Home. He was a Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, and Immanuel Kanta was a German philosopher, and they had some philosophy in the 1800s, and Prabhupada would discuss that. So May 20th, 1976, in commenting on verse 20 today, Prabhupada told us that anyone who thinks this material world is a place of happiness is simply a madman. As proof, he gave a very practical example. Krishna points out, no, this is not a place of happiness. Why is it not a place of happiness? Now, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanand Anudarshanam. Why don't you see the real unhappiness? This is real dukkha, or unhappiness. What is that? Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. One who is intelligent sees the fourfold miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. You have to die. You have to take birth within the womb with so much risk that even your mother can kill you. Is this very happiness? When the child sleeps very peacefully, that I am on the lap of my mother. Now the time has come when the mother is killing the child. So, is it very happiness place? That you cannot trust even your mother? What to speak of others? The time has come, degraded that. Naturally a child, he thinks, I am safe now with my mother. But the Kali Yuga is so cruel that even with the mother you are not safe. And still you say it is a place of happiness. This is called illusion. So I'll give you another example. Srila Prabhupada was once in New York and on his morning walks. Now it was winter and the puddles there had slightly frozen. Now here we don't have puddles, we have potholes. And like our Guru Maharaj used to say, soon to be kunds. So there the potholes were frozen, and Prabhupada, as he was walking, he would take his walking stick and he would stamp into these potholes. He would stamp the ice. And he had a certain glee about doing that. He would walk over and he would literally stamp it with his stick. And he did that to 3 or 4 times to the potholes. And then the devotees asked him, Prabhupada, what are you doing? Because it was looking, he was displaying so much of glee in what he was doing. And it was like little childish, like a little child that is just stamping the puddles and getting some excitement out of it. And so Prabhupada said that this, now the ice that had developed from the water, he said, this is not the natural position of the water. Water is liquid, not ice. So now in that way he's displaying to us that we are not in our natural position as well. Our natural position, our constitutional position, Jivera Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das. We are servants of Krishna. That is our natural position. And when we are engaged in service, then we are total bliss. We are in total bliss. Right now, all the happiness that we experience is fleeting. It is temporary. But our total blissfulness will be when we are engaged completely in Krishna's service. And that is in the spiritual world. So, continuing, the most important letter in today's mail was from Madhuvisha. He gave his address at the Brooklyn post office. Without revealing any details of his fall down, he said that because of his impurities, he felt more of a detriment to the mission than a help. He acknowledged that he is already suffering due to his condition. After being out there in the material world for only a couple of days, I can see that there is nothing real which is not related to your service. Shramahi eva kevalam. Therefore, if Krishna allows me, I will keep on chanting and praying that he will allow me to serve you in some humble way. He said he got to the point where he felt his service had become completely molded by what others thought, rather than being performed out of love for Krishna. Therefore, he wrote that he wants to approach spiritual life in a more straightforward fashion, without the desire for name and fame. He said he also felt that because the GBC men have a rather autonomous status, they operate more or less alone in their own zones, thus subjecting themselves to fall downs, because they lack continuous association. He suggested that all the GBC members and sannyasis have assistants to accompany them wherever they go as a prevention. He ended his letter by saying that he wants to come to Hawaii, but he does not think that he will make it before Prabhupada leaves for Los Angeles. He will therefore see him in Los Angeles, where he said, hopefully, I will be at your lotus feet. Prabhupada was at once happy and concerned to hear from him. If there is any way to save him, he is willing to take it. He immediately both mailed and wired this reply. I want to meet you immediately. If you do not come to Hawaii, then Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. If you do not come to Hawaii and you want to come to Los Angeles, then I can go to Los Angeles immediately. If you actually want to give me service, then you can live with me. I want your service. So we see Srila Prabhupada, he demonstrates the care and compassion that he had for devotees. He didn't see that this devotee has fallen away from Krishna consciousness. He immediately wanted to bring him back. So this is the care and the compassion that Srila Prabhupada had for his devotees. Gopal Krishna Prabhu sent a long and detailed report of his Western India zone. Even though his workload was reduced in India Even though his workload was reduced when India was split into 2 GBC zones this year, he still has a number of important projects on hand. So Srila Prabhupada is personally advising him on almost every detail. Prabhupada already knows about the library party's progress, but Gopala's report that Yashodananda Maharaj and Gargamuni Swami were also involved was new. In Vrindavan, Hai Das, a South American, is now managing, and Akshayananda Swami is heading up the traveling party. The temple debts have been cleared, but Gopala said he hoped the temple guest house complex would be self-sufficient by the end of May. Plans for the construction of the new Gurukul were due to be passed by the city magistrate, and by mid-May, and the cost is estimated at 15 lakhs of rupees. The building will be 3 stories, and as per Srila Prabhupada's previous instructions to Bhagatji, the Grihastas will be allowed to occupy rooms on the top floor. The Vrindavan devotees have also started a business making crowns and other headwear for temple deities. He proposed that this could also go on the top floor, which is ready. In the meantime, he suggested that the newly donated Taparia house could be used for both Grihastha living and the Mukut business. His plans included construction of a large room to do the work in, and some self-contained rooms for living. Gopala wants to hire permanent guards to put a barbed wire fence all around the house to make it safe, since the area is a little dangerous. He suggested that householders living there could have their own Mangal Aarti, because it is unsafe to make the 15-minute walk to the temple while it is still dark. His proposals would cost 40,000 rupees. Gurukul construction will require 150,000 to 200,000 rupees per month, out of which 1/3 will come from the new traveling party under Tribhunatha Das, which is now collecting in America. He wanted to know if the remaining 1 lakh rupees will be taken from Bombay's monthly receipts. Gopala also had an update on Prabhupada's attempt to get the land in Kurukshetra. He recently attended a meeting there with a friend of our society, Sri Prem Gaul. Mr. Gaul owns a big company called Haryana Milk Foods, and had met with Prabhupada at Lakshman Agarwal's house when they were staying in Delhi in March. He spoke at the Kurukshetra meeting, publicly declaring that Srila Prabhupada was anxious to build a big temple there. As a result, the chief minister of the state who was presiding announced to the crowd that Prabhupada would definitely be given land. Gopala is trying to get 30 acres in Jyotishar, where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But because of the small land parcels, it will have to be split some for a temple of Krishna Arjun on one side of the canal and some for a Varnashram college on the other side. Saurabha Prabhu, our ISKCON architect, is already drawing up plans for both places. Mr. Goel has promised that if we are not given the land, he will personally buy it for us. Apart from this, Gopal Krishna Prabhu is trying to get a small preaching facility in the town, right on the lake. As far as Bombay is concerned, the twin guest towers will be completed by the end of September. Gopala is confident that the temple will be ready to open on Ram Navami next year. They are meeting with an architect to draw up plans for a new Gurukul there also. The only problem right now is with Mr. Badruka from Hyderabad. He is the gentleman who has donated 650 acres of land near Hyderabad and is helping to raise funds for the new temple in that city. He has been occupying a complete apartment on our Bombay land, and he is causing a great inconvenience. We have insufficient space for our own devotees, and Gopala wants him to move out. But Mahamsa Swami, the president in Hyderabad, is insisting he be allowed to stay. Gopala promised the new Hyderabad temple will be ready for opening on Janmashtami, August 18th. The most interesting part of Gopal Krishna's report was about his plans for book production and distribution. He recently met with Thomson's Press, which produces high-quality work which Gopala claims is comparable to quality in the West. He thinks they can print all our BBT books for up to 8% less than we currently pay. His proposal is that Thomson import high-quality paper, print 30,000 Bhagavad Gitas as it is, and re-export these to England, Australia, and Africa. At the same time, they can print another 10,000 on Indian government concessional paper for Indian temples. With the bigger run, the price comes down drastically. At that time, he had just received a visa from Russia and was booking a hotel. He will fly via London on a ticket Rameshwar Swami sent. He had an interesting meeting at the Russian embassy in Delhi, where he says he has good contacts. He showed them the BBT catalogue. The Russians said, "Your books are philosophical." When they came to the page advertising the Krishna books, they said, "Krishna, this is related to the ISKCON?" I replied, "No." I was surprised to discover how aware they are of your movement. So Gopala's plan is to spend a month there and meet with Professor Kotovsky, whom Srila Prabhupada met in 1971 in Moscow. He will also try to put some books in as many institutions as he can. He is well aware of the difficulties. Only by yours and the Supreme Lord's grace will this be possible, he wrote. Srila Prabhupada carefully heard every item and replied in detail to all the points. For the Vrindavan Gurukul, he improved the transfer of money from Bombay. He also went into some length about the arrangements of Grihastas and the Mukut business. He said that the householders may live in the Taparia house immediately because he wants the guest house free of women and children. But a brick wall must be constructed around the property, not a wire fence. He prefers that they go to Mangal Aarti at the temple. Otherwise, it becomes a household affair. In his own hand, he added that this should not be insisted upon. As far as business is concerned, he said it should remain in the guest house until the new building is completed. It is not safe there, and you will have to employ 3 guards at the expense of 500 to 600 rupees. So what is the use? Do not move all the valuable stock to Taparia house, as it is risky. He requested plans of the Taparia house and told Gopala not to spend money making extra rooms because money is already being spent on the rooms at the Gurukul top floor. He was particularly concerned about the developments in Kurukshetra. He told Gopal Krishna to get the chief minister to make his promise of land tangible. You mentioned that the chief minister of Haryana promised to give me land in Kurukshetra for constructing our project there. Where is his letter? We must have this in writing. He also refused the idea of split parcel of land in Jyotishar. He told Gopala to get all 30 acres in one lot. If the government gives us 30 acres of land, then we shall attempt. Otherwise, let it be postponed. We are not anxious to construct next to a Bengali temple, but send the dimensions of the available land in any case. He wasn't happy to hear that Badruka was occupying our apartment in Bombay. He noted that as a rich man, he could easily rent or purchase some other place in Bombay. Why are they utilizing our facility? They have already put us into inconvenience by occupying. But what is this? That they are taking it permanently. It is a guest room, not permanent occupancy. Again, he added a footnote by hand. There are so many flats available in the vicinity. Why do they not take? Why should they create inconvenience to our work? This is not at all good. Finally, he dealt with the ideas Gopala presented for printing in India. He is in favor of printing there, but he didn't like the arrangements suggested for Thomson Press to import paper and then export. We can do it ourselves and save the commission that they would make. Also, we will be bound to Thomson's Press if they have our own paper. Guru Kripa Swami can send the paper from Japan. In that way, he can get the money out of Japan in the form of paper for printing books. He told Gopala to get an import-export license and simply use Thomson's Press for the printing. If we get land in Delhi, Prabhupada suggested, we can base our operation there. If it comes out cheaper and more efficient, then we can print all of our books there, as long as the quality is not diminished. 2 other letters came from India, one from Abhiram Das in Calcutta and the other from Saurabha Das in Bombay. Abhiram Prabhu had been making inquiries about the lake project and has met with the Home Minister Tarun Kanti Ghosh, who came to see Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur last February. Unfortunately, the prospects do not look very good. Mr. Ghosh told him that because the park is public property, they would be unable to give permission to build on it. Even if somehow they did, we would not be able to retain any control of it. He advised us to find some other land. Of course, he is prone to pessimism because of a lack of faith in Krishna. Abhiram wrote, "So for now, I will continue to pursue our goals fearlessly." Abhiram also informed Prabhupada that he and Gurudas Swami recently went to Jagannath Puri. They saw a parcel of land on the outskirts of the town, which the Revenue Department of Orissa offered to us on a 90-year lease. It is sandy soil, but has sweet water and cool ocean breezes. Abhiram favored it for another reason. This is probably a good location because the town is very dirty and full of diseases. In his reply, Srila Prabhupada instructed him to keep trying for the park and keep him informed of the progress. He is interested in the land at Puri, but hearing it was sandy soil made him doubtful. He told Pushta Krishna and me there should be some trees growing. It should not be desert. Accordingly, he asked Abhiram to verify whether there is any vegetation, telling him to negotiate to build a temple on 21 acres of land. Saurabha's letter informed His Divine Grace that the Bombay construction is going forward on time and to a good standard. He therefore had time to put into the Mayapur project. He has nearly completed the design for a new house for Srila Prabhupada, just next to the Pukar near the front gate. Although he said he had enclosed the plans, they were not in the letter. He also suggested that the basement of the new building on the northern boundary be used to house the exhibition that Srila Prabhupada had originally requested to be put in the building of its own, just to the south side of the existing temple and guest house. Saurabha explained that according to his master plan, when the temple of the Vedic planetarium is built, its main thoroughfare would dissect such a building in that position. He wanted Prabhupada's advice on what to do. Saurabha also gave a final accounting of the Vrindavan project. Initially, he had reported a total expenditure of 43 lakhs, but after revising the figures, he concluded that the total spent was only 40 lakhs 50,000. This is only 50,000 above the original estimate. He ended his letter with a suggestion of earning money when the Bombay temple is complete. A life member told him that many well-to-do and religious Indian families will want to conduct marriage ceremonies at the temple. By providing facilities for this, the temple could support itself. For marriages, Indians spend huge amounts of money. Our center seems to be perfect to have sometimes such a ceremony, which can be very sophisticated and religious. We have all the facilities like guest house, prasadam, restaurant, temple, theatre, lobbies, etc., etc. Also, for preaching, there is hardly a better way to come in contact with many important people at the same time. Prabhupada was puzzled by Saurabha's mention of a basement in the new Mayapur building. He asked for more information on this and told him he could postpone plans for the exhibition building until he had completed the whole Mayapur site plan. As far as Bombay is concerned, Prabhupada is interested in the idea of providing facilities for marriages with one proviso: no marriages may be done before the deities. He asked Saurabha to provide details on where the marriages will take place. Prabhupada is so carefully supervising the Bombay project that before any bills can be paid to the contractor, Gopal Krishna, Giriraj and Saurabha all have to provide a signed approval of expenditure. This is then sent to Prabhupada, who then writes to the bank and authorizes the transfer of money. Other mail included a letter from Swarup Damodar Prabhu in Atlanta, where he is working on the Emory University. He sent a proposed logo for the new Bhaktivedanta Institute that Srila Prabhupada wants him and other scientists to perform. And he asked for a Sanskrit slogan which could be included. He reported receiving Srila Prabhupada's letter asking that all the PhDs collaborate together to build the Vedic planetarium. And he said he has sent copies to other ISKCON scientists. As soon as they finish the project work on the current book, he said that he will take up that project. The book project is entitled The Origin of Matter and Life. Under the merciful guidance of your divine grace, our humble attempt is progressing very well. Major and difficult chapters are finished. It will be ready for publication sometime next year. There are some important points which we would like to personally discuss with your divine grace regarding the book. We have collected several pertinent points from Srimad Bhagavatam also. By a strange coincidence, many of these points correspond to the geologic timetable given by modern science. These points are quite involved, so we need your divine grace's advice and clarification on this matter. So the bottom of the sheet, okay, here there's an advert. So Swarup Damodar felt such meetings an important part of the Institute's regular program. Here he was talking about meeting of scientists with the general public. There are quite a number of arguments raised. It is, however, not too difficult to handle them. I intensely felt the necessity of holding seminars of this kind in different scientific departments at the universities. Three of us, Sataputa, Madhava and myself, will form a well-balanced team in these scientific fields. Srila Prabhupada was pleased to hear about the lecture seminar. He said it was very good and required. For the logo slogan, Prabhupada gave a Vedic aphorism, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, which he advised should be written in Devanagari script. The first word on the top I'll read that again. The first word over the outside top of the logo and the other below. His final letter of the day went to Dr. Wolf Rotke, a friend of Swarup Damodar, currently visiting with him in Atlanta. He is German and he wrote expressing his distress at hearing devotees suggest that Hitler may not have been as bad as many of his victors' propaganda. This apparently stems from comments Srila Prabhupada had previously made that the Germans were forced to go to war because of restrictive economic practices by the British. Dr. Wolf asked Prabhupada to please speak out against this because after having spent some time as a draftee into what he termed the demon's army, he at that time had felt ashamed of being part of the German community. Srila Prabhupada's reply was typically transcendental. He wasn't interested in the duality of material life and the mental speculation of what is good and bad. Why should our temple support or denounce Hitler? If somebody says something in this connection, it must simply be some sentiment. We have nothing to do with politics. It is, after all, sentiment. You may say something and I say something. In this material world, to say this is good and this is bad has no value. To us, everything material is bad, as it is lacking Krishna consciousness. Just like wet stool and dry stool. Stool is stool. But somebody is saying that wet stool is better than dry stool? What is the good and bad? The top side of some stool is dry and the bottom side is wet. But anyway, you may take it. The material world is stool and it must be given up. Krishna says that Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. This world is a place of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. Now this is good misery, or is it bad misery? Misery is misery and you have to die. Good die or bad die. So to us, everything material without connection to Krishna is to be rejected as stool. Otherwise, we will waste valuable time needed to solve the real problems of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. So that ends our reading. That's the end of chapter 20. I just want to add one little pastime from a book called Srila Prabhupada's Stories, and it's related by Her Grace Govinda Dasi. Now, Srila Prabhupada had once had a stroke in America, and after he was hospitalized, he went to Hawaii to recover. And there he was looked after by Her Grace Govinda Dasi and Gaurasundar. And this one story is just a sweet story of Prabhupada's compassion. So once, okay, this is not in Hawaii, this is in New Jersey. Okay, just go back here. This is in New Jersey, where Prabhupada, he was recovering from this stroke. In the late afternoon in New Jersey, Srila Prabhupada would often sit downstairs in the garden beside our bungalow. New Jersey is known as the Garden State, and the towns of Long Beach were certainly testimony of that. There are gardens everywhere, roses are blooming, and the fragrance is filling the air. And one particular afternoon, Srila Prabhupada was comfortably seated in a chair, and I was sitting on the ground next to him. He was softly chanting japa, enjoying the fresh ocean air mixed with the fragrance of roses and other flowers. Occasionally, he would say something, but mostly he would chant softly. Suddenly, beside my sitting place, so she was sitting below him, beside my sitting place, I saw a brown slug in all its slimy ugliness. Somewhat repulsed, I leaned away from the creature. And Srila Prabhupada looked at me quizzically and said, Srila Prabhupada looked at me quizzically, and I said, look at this, pointing at the slimy, sliding creature. Srila Prabhupada leaned forward and looked at the slug, and his face grew full of love and compassion, and he said to me, chant to the poor creature. So I sat there chanting Hare Krishna to the slimy yet benedicted slug for some time until he slithered away. He had the incredible compassion even for the most abominable creature. Srila Prabhupada, I can never forget the sound of your voice when you mentioned that instruction. In it, your whole mission was encapsulated. Chant to the poor creature. Your face looked pained, full of compassion for the poor jiva in that slimy body. You did not see the ugly slug that I saw. You saw the soul covered in suffering, forgetful of Krishna. From that moment, my heart opened for all creatures, and I glimpsed the depth of your divine compassion. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for sharing that compassion with me. So Hare Krishna, we will stop here. And if possible, I would like to request any comments. I don't think I'm in a position to answer any questions. And we'd also like to welcome back His Grace Swarup Damodar Prabhu. He's back from India he's been in India for the last 6 months, I would say, serving his Guru Maharaj. And Prabhu, if there's any realizations that you have had being with Giriraj Swami, who was so closely connected with Srila Prabhupada, perhaps you would like to share something with us?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can you hear? Is it audible? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vaishnava Priya Mataji, for a nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Regarding absorbing ourselves in topics of Srila Prabhupada, I mean, I could say that from the last few months being with His Holiness Giriraj Swami, who is very much absorbed in remembering Prabhupada and representing Prabhupada to his audiences, and very absorbed in representing Prabhupada in his own behavior and activities. I got the impression that it's an essential consciousness to develop. Of course, this is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We're meant to be conscious of Krishna. But I developed a distinct understanding that it would be very much easier, or rather very much more difficult, if it's not based on Prabhupada. So it's easier if our consciousness of Prabhupada is heightened, and in that way it's easier to remember Krishna. And it becomes even more difficult to remember Krishna if we are not conscious of Srila Prabhupada. That is not in any way to equate them as Prabhupada is Krishna, Krishna is Prabhupada. But it stems from a place of gratitude for how merciful Srila Prabhupada is. Like if Srila Prabhupada is so merciful to send a slug back to Godhead by engaging devotees to chant Hare Krishna, one can consider how merciful He is to us. So, simply out of gratitude, kritagya,
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.